How do you fix a problem called GoPro?
Love the show tune reference there. So I think, Mark, one of the things that we see here is, there's still this focus on these really great videos that they can shoot with these great cameras that now lie underneath piles of snow and at the bottom of the ocean in massive numbers. One of the things they had to do last quarter was give retailers tens of millions of dollars back in rebates because they priced the thing too high. They cut the price. They said in the press release today in the SEC filing that they were still going to get revenues from this business, but that their profits, which have basically not existed except for one quarter briefly, for 13 brief shining weeks, they had a $15 million profit. But this company is losing hundreds of millions of dollars every year, and those losses are now going to continue because they're having to subsidize the price of the cameras that they were selling in the fourth quarter. Then they admitted to that with the release out today, that they spent over $10 million subsidizing the sales of these things, allowing retailers to cut prices but promising them essentially rebates back there. The concern, though, is for going forward is that finally the gross margin problems are arriving. The gross margin problems they said weren't going to happen. Well, they've been showing up. Gross margins have been falling and falling every quarter. Now the announcement that these gap margins are falling, and it's a real problem for this company because the ever-present threat for GoPro has been about competition. And if competition shows up, if you walk into any of the retailers that sell these really cool cameras, you'll see right next to it a cheaper camera that can do something very similar. If you walk into any great retailer that sells this stuff, you see the competition right next to it.
So it had to solve its one-hit wonder problem. It didn't solve that or hasn't solved that yet. So what happens next? Does somebody take it back private in some way?
Well, I mean, who wants a business that's losing this much money? They've got to right the ship to show any value whatsoever. I mean, look, the cameras are a lot of fun. I mean, I was up in North Star last week, and I saw all kinds of people with attachments on the tops of their helmets ready to snap a GoPro on. But I couldn't tell if it was a GoPro or a Sony or something else. If you walk into Willoughby's at 31st and 5th Avenue here in Manhattan, you see GoPros right next to all the competition, and they're selling a lot of all of them. So that's the real risk for this company. And I think that this is the thing that investors on some level have always been concerned with. It's why short interest always peaks in the stock at a certain point, because they come into these really big fourth quarters that should be the moment of profit, and the company face plants time and again, and we see that today.
Is this ultimately a Nicholas Woodman problem?
Well, they've got other management of the company. Nick's a really nice guy. He's sold a lot of stock and been very beneficial.
The CEO, is the person responsible.
Sure, and he's the chief evangelist for the company too, and he tells a really great story, and he's a really enthusiastic guy as well. But I think this may be a bigger problem than any individual. This may be an actual problem with the business. Certainly, they have yet to show the answer.